Welcome back, Santa Clarita Valley. We're here on your Neighborhood Watch, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds, where we talk about Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station outreach twice a month. In the studio with me, as always, Deputy Kevin Duxbury. And we were just going down the list of some more memorable stories that made the media in thus far, the first half of 2015, we'll say, even though we're not quite there. I'm looking ahead, as always. The stolen gift card from Starbucks.
Explain that
caper.
I live in Starbucks pretty much.
Oh goodness, Peter!
So
you didn't read the story in the Hometown Station newsletter?
They just told me to show up for you, that you were going to tell me all the stories because I'm special. You get to read them to me.
Peter thinks quick on his feet. That's why we make him the studio engineer. Yeah. So there was a lot of discussion about this, but essentially a Starbucks card is the link that sheriff station deputies were able to get between this car vandalism burglary suspect and the theft of like what $1,500 worth of. I heard it was like a pretty high figure, but what they have is this person who has a card that was found in the victim's car that was used at Starbucks, so they have video footage of this person using, basically, they're not sure if this is the thief, but he's using a stolen merchandise on camera. And so the discussion is like, okay, can we find this person to get him back to...
So is a card that already had like $1,000 on it?
No. So what I'm trying to say is that here's a car. Somebody vandalized that car and took out all this stuff and the Starbucks card. Oh, and the Starbucks card is the link. It is the glass slipper, I guess.
It could be the key to the city. I don't know what you want to call it.
It's amazing what you'll find to find something else in a quest for something like it. In catching a criminal or something, all these different trails that will spin off from one incident.
And. He watches a lot of crime TV. You could tell.
I was a Law and Order freak too.
Me too. But what's interesting is that of all this stuff, like you said, there's this one piece of evidence that's tying it to him, and the search continues. Is my understanding. They're still trying to identify the guy. But why I put this on the list and why I enjoy it is because this guy either A, stole a whole bunch of money and thought he got away with it, but he ended up getting caught on camera. So at least he had that. And if he didn't do it, fair enough. Whatever situation, either he bought or received, friends, hey, here, buddy, here's a gift card, and it ends up getting his picture put all over social media.
For whatever reason, this person has a card that does not belong to him.
Right.
And we'd really like to know why.
Yes. And speaking of things that do not belong to people, the shopping cart thefts. This one almost took the cake. These two women were taken into custody. They were younger gals, but they were both over 18. At the Ralph's just down the street, Peter. They were riding around in some stolen electric carts under the influence.
We mean stolen electric? I thought you meant
like you've been to the grocery cart. You've been to the store and you've seen a person with
handicap,
disabilities, whatever. They're using the electric cart, the motorized cart.
So they took them off the grocery, out of the grocery store, away from the parking lot, onto the sidewalk, and they're just
around joyriding through the parking lot. People notice
like bumper cars.
That kind of things. Yeah, especially when you're interfering with traffic, you're going to have probably received more than one call, I would imagine, to the sheriff's station. So they were contacted, and the carts are very expensive, so when you steal them, that's a grand theft charge. That's what that amounts to. And they were also found with a random assortment of goods such as Monster energy drinks, Italian sauce, Funyuns Mountain Dew, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, a pregnancy test, and Red Bull.
So they were on their way.
You know what? It's all speculation at this point.
Well, that's my job, to speculate. So.
Okay. That's what the pundits do. And then the DUI charge. The
same group of people?
No, different group. We don't know that the shopping cart people were intoxicated, but if you caught somebody on a cart like that or a scooter, because I know you can get it. I've heard of people in Santa Barbara driving under the influence on a bike. Like bicycling under the influence.
That can happen anywhere.
Is a scooter, can that be considered a motorized?
I'm going to go ahead and have to say yes. I think you could.
I guess
somebody for
you're
DUI
rolling.
On that.
You could hurt somebody,
especially if you're
or a dirt bike
driving it where there's cars.
So that's good to know. Yeah. So don't drink and drive any vehicles, not even a scooter. This is basically a good rule of thumb for living your life.
Good rule of thumb, right?
But this DUI guy, this DUI suspect, we should say, because there has not been a conviction that I'm aware of. Was driving a big, large, white dually truck. Peter, do you know what a dually is?
No idea.
Okay. I had to guess. I wouldn't have said. The big dual wheels at the back.
Oh, I know what that. Yeah, dually.
Yeah, it's kind of a jargony term, but you know, if you're in the scene, you know it. Caught up with the guy after a couple residents phoned and said, "Hey, there's sparks shooting out of the back of this guy's truck." Well, it turns out the guy was driving on rims.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, not to mention, how would you not feel that as driving? Like I'm imagining. I haven't driven ever on 4 rims. I've driven on 1 briefly, and it's tough to control the vehicle. So, yeah, but I imagine there was steering issues. But maybe the truck elevation takes you away from that. I don't know.
I've seen it though. I've been in a situation that we had to pull over immediately. We were trailing a boat though, and we knew something that as soon as there were sparks, we had to. Yeah, we didn't know. So
you pull over.
Yeah, we had to wait like 6 hours for the right kind of tow to tow a boat back. But you know,
sure,
such
not every truck can throw a boat in the back of it.
Ran into that situation.
This guy probably could, but not with all 4 wheels sparking. 2 sets of rear tires on fire. Sparked a vegetation fire shortly after his DUI arrest.
No.
The fire responded to and had it out immediately, but almost lit the brush outside of a Jack in the Box on fire. So just some things.
That reminded me, my neighbor actually started a small, tiny little brush fire. I got a bad ticket, a really bad ticket.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, did he throw a cigarette butt out the window?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Well, that's incredibly dangerous, Peter.
I was coming home one day. This was 2 weeks ago. I was coming home and police, everything, all outside. Asked my neighbors what happened. They're like, "Yeah, this guy with a cigarette."
It's actually called reckless arson.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Now I know
in the penal
that.
code. And
Is that a felony or a misdemeanor? Do you know?
I know you got a
have to
fat
look that
ticket
up for you, but yeah, you can get a fat ticket, and that's just it. If you're using your barbecue or if you're throwing cigarette butts in a reckless manner, it's not an
He fell
intentional
asleep with it,
arson.
yeah.
But it is considered a reckless arson. So.
Interesting to know. We have to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back after this, wrap up some things that are going on, talk about the DUI checkpoint that's coming up, and we'll be right back on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, on the Neighborhood Watch, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds. Welcome back, Santa Clarita Valley. We're here on your Neighborhood Watch, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds. We're twice a month. Deputy Kevin Duxbury and I talk about what's going on in Santa Clarita Valley, what's happening with the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station, and the outreach and crime prevention tips that you need to know. So what we were just talking about was some of my court cases that have drawn media attention just because of the nature. And the last one that we had was a DUI charge. And it's apt transition because we have a DUI checkpoint coming up tonight.
Yes, we sure do.
And are you going to be there, Deputy? Can people come down and meet
I won't be out there.
Do you get a break?
No, I get a break.
You get a break? Okay. But so generally about 6 o'clock at night, you guys, or when it starts to get dark, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Is it? Okay. And then it's going to be within city limits, but we don't, the grants require you to announce it 24 hours ahead of time, but they don't say the location, right?
Exactly.
And I've had a couple different theories on this. You know, the previous Captain Becker was like, you know, we know within a half an hour that people are going to put it out there on social media or whatever. Here's a checkpoint, but it brings that conversation. It brings that, hey, you know, they're doing something about it, so at least, hey, try to be safe if you're going to be on that side. You know, you're always going to have people trying to drive around it, but you know the statistics out there, right? That's why the sheriff's station does.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been doing patrol at Santa Clarita Station for almost 10 years now. Working that night shift, you know, the party hours, and I've
Probably seen it all.
a lot of the results of a lot of DUIs, and I've seen everything from just you know, basic observed traffic stops I did myself where I saw someone swerving and ended up taking him for a DUI, to just minor property and vehicle damage, all the way up to fatalities. And it's you know, it's serious, and it just amazes me with as much as we put out there about the dangers of drinking and driving, how often it still happens.
Yeah. And yeah, you had some numbers as far as just like the fatal crashes, and it's pretty staggering when you just, not even the national figures, but California too.
Right.
Pretty eye-opening stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at this right now, and it says in California, led to 802 deaths in 2012 just because people didn't designate a sober driver. And nearly 10,000 were killed by impaired drivers over the course of about 3 years. So, and that's, I mean, you think about that. That's a lot of people that just didn't
really
have to
avoidable
happen.
crime too. It's like when you talk about the victims of crimes of opportunity, it's just things that you can do that will, you know, just call somebody. You know what I mean? Get it. And to that end, we're going to be putting a link. I'm looking it up right now. On New Year's, we ran a story about all the safe ride options. We're going to be putting that up on the website again. Some are even free. Like if safe rides, if you're a younger kid, they'll give you a ride home. You just call the number. There's no charge. It's a program, I believe, with the city sheriff station and just a community-wide availability. So there are options out there. There's obviously Uber. There's apps. There's is it 266 Cab or 262 Cab?
I believe it is.
It'll be on the website, so check out hometownstation.com. But just take the safe option home, I think, is the big takeaway. And then any other kind of information you can offer as far as about what's going on there.
Oh, sure. I mean, the huge part of DUI is pre-planning for prevention. Make sure you have a designated driver with your group, and that designated driver really needs to be disciplined and not drink at all, not even one.
I can't tell you, how many times you've been at the party and you heard someone say, "Oh, my designated driver just decided to start partying." I mean, it's really nothing you can do at that point.
Or they think, well, I'm just going to have one or two and I'll be fine, and you just don't know. If you are the host of the party, or if you are a business that serves alcohol, consider having alternatives to alcohol for your guests. In one case, this is just a personal experience. I went to a restaurant with some friends who were going to be drinking, and when I told the waitress that I was the designated driver, she told me my sodas for the rest of the night were free, and she even brought me a free plate of appetizers.
Oh, right.
That was just huge. That was really a nice gesture, and it's really a just a good way to look out for your guests or for your customers.
Right on. Everybody loves some free food.
Absolutely.
Free apps.
Absolutely. If you are hosting the party, and people are going to be bringing their own alcohol, maybe you want to limit how much they're allowed to bring. Monitor how much alcohol is there. Monitor how much people are drinking.
Right.
And make sure you check your guests at the door and see that they're going to be safe going home.
Don't be afraid to take the keys or call somebody.
Don't be afraid to take the keys. Don't be afraid to call someone. I'm sure it's a huge inconvenience to leave your car somewhere and take a cab home and have to go get it the next day, but when you think of the alternatives...
Certainly cheaper than a DUI, I'm imagining.
It's cheaper than a DUI, but do you really want to live with the fact that you might have hurt or killed somebody?
Right.
So.
And and in addition to that, some of the numbers that you guys put out with the Nixle release, which again, want to remind people, the Nixle is a service that the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station puts out. They put out the crime reports and information and trends through Nixle. It's a free service. You just type Santa Clarita and Nixle into your browser, Santa Clarita Nixle, and it'll take you right to the page where you can sign up for those reports. But yeah, in the reports you were talking about, I think is something along the lines of $10,000 if you do get a DUI.
Well, the fines,
the costs are just...
the DUI itself, I mean, you're looking at the DMV possibly suspending your license, limiting it to only school and work only, or possibly suspending it completely so that you can't use it at all. You're looking at going to... a lot of classes, things of that nature, and in the long run, yes, it will set you back about $10,000. All those things that you have to do, the DUI classes, if they say that you're going to need an interlock device on your car, which is a breath analysis device hooked to your ignition that you have to blow into every 15 minutes to a half hour, you have to pay for that also. You have to pay the rental on that. You have to pay the installation, the removal. So in the long run, yeah, it's going to set you back about $10,000.
And here's where else you pay for that. I had a friend who had a DUI, made a mistake, and forever he had to deal with putting down the misdemeanor. He had no criminal record whatsoever, never been in trouble with the law, but he had trouble because you got to put down that you have a misdemeanor conviction for every job application.
It's funny that you mention that too, because in the event of a DUI, if you cause an accident and you injure another party in any way,
it becomes a felony.
Any way, it automatically becomes a felony. Now you're putting on there that you have a felony on your record.
Right. So yeah, something to think about when you're getting ready to party.
DUIs are life-changing for everybody. There's no other way to put it. You can't downsize it.
And on that note, we have to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on your hometown station on the Neighborhood Watch, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.